Oh my gosh, it's here. We're live. We are live. We are going on both Instagram here, and then we've got YouTube here. So this is living on my channel as well.
YouTube. The band YouTube is also something to consider listening to.
Yes. Happy 420, you guys.
That's a thing, apparently.
Apparently that's
Everyone
a thing.
just decided 420 is a thing, so we're going to make it a thing.
Yeah. We are here today to talk about something a little provocative. I'll be honest, my pits are sweating a little bit. Because when I said I wanted to do this, it sounded like a really good idea, and then I was like, do I really want to be that vulnerable and honest?
Oh, come on.
No,
we're just talking about
I'm kidding.
love and light.
And learning.
Come on.
And all those fun things. But yeah, we're clearly here to talk about the green stuff. Marijuana, and we wanted to, happy 420 guys.
Get it? Marriage and marijuana. Marijuana.
Marijuana.
You want to talk about it or what? You want to? Marijuana.
Yeah. This conversation is obviously one that is happening all over the place. It's a conversation that whether you want to be a part of it or not, you really don't have any other choice because the industry's shifting. A lot of things are just shifting around, even as I've watched my industry. And we'll get more into that later. But, honey, shall we get into it? Shall we chat?
I think so.
Okay.
Well, so first of all, I will say that I am a happy little hippie. And I enjoy cannabis. And my experience with cannabis, if I could share a little bit, I was already a matured adult. I was 26 the first time I tried marijuana. Not recommended, I will openly admit. There's a lot of people out there who probably have a gnarly edible story. I ate weed and I ate too much and it was a horrible experience. Horrible. And I'll never forget it. And then later on, time went by. I had a little bit of, the green stuff, not this oil things that's coming out more popular now, which Lynn could talk about. But, and I was 26 and I thought it was a really unique experience. I listened to my favorite album, one of my favorite albums to this day, Radiohead, and I concentrated on the whole thing. And music became very colorful for me that day. And I thought that was something worth noting. And so that changed my experience with music. I loved it even more. And, but I will say that in my journey experimenting with cannabis, I didn't probably do as much learning as I should have, although I tried, what I knew, and consulted with people that I knew. And there are certain strands, and our friend, our expert friend in cannabis, Dave, he's going to talk. We're going to
chime him in later.
We're going to bring him into this just in a few minutes. But he's going to be talking about that. And knowledge is power. You know what they say, knowledge is power. And I think that it's important that we talk. It's something worth talking about. It's something that's very provocative. And we go, what's up with that? My experience has been positive. However, it's important to understand what the strands are, how to have the right relationship with a plant that God made, So it's not something that, it's anything other than that. It's an herb. And what don't we know about it? So when it comes to marriage, it wasn't something that was rightly divulged as a husband. I would say I was learning with the plant, and at the same time in marriage, I wasn't really sharing as much as I should have, so it caused my wife pain. And I don't recommend that either. So make sure you know your stuff, make sure you know what you're talking about, and respect what it is, and respect also the people around you and your feedback loop. And I think now, Lynn, you could probably take it from here. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, as you guys had known, some of you may be just tuning in and not knowing this, but, let's just first say this. At this point, we have been known, you guys, to kind of share our story.
We're artists, cuff us.
We've been known, if you guys have seen us on The And, we've talked about some pretty vulnerable parts of our story. And so this was a very big part of our story that we kind of hadn't touched on very much. Mostly because I was really scared, and I care a lot what people think. I care a lot what you guys think, and I care a lot about what my family thinks and all these things. And the truth of the matter is that I just think that through our experience, through us sharing some of the things that we've learned, it can help a lot of other people. Because I've had other friends that have, experienced the same thing in marriage where they feel siloed and they, the wife also doesn't smoke. And so I've had girlfriends and I talk about it and go, we feel alone in this marriage right now. And so there's a lot of learning things that come with it that I think that are just important to touch on. And we've come on the other end of it and now have a respect and an understanding. But I mean, it was a struggle for a little bit.
Communication is the key to everything. The lesson learned from me beyond this. So, you know, you fell into our trap, a provocative topic, hopefully, that what don't we know about this topic? But I think there's much more important issues. So when it comes to me, things like communication, things like correct communication, the way we receive information, the way we transmit it, what we pay attention to, all of these things matter when it comes to how we communicate directly with one another. So I find that if we can learn, for me, the lesson learned is I want to make sure that I'm always communicating treat others the way you want to be treated. So communicate with others the way you would like to be communicated with. And that is easier said than done.
Yeah.
Easier said than done, you know?
Yeah. For sure. So we want to make this interactive. If you guys have any questions, obviously you can leave comments in the description box below. If you're on YouTube over here, if we're on Instagram, we're kind of doing it dual. But I think what it really came down to for me is that, I mean, in my adolescence, I had smoked weed a few times, but it just didn't really sit well with me. I always got very nauseous. So it's not something that I've ever really been into per se. So when we got married, it was a decision that had kind of come into our marriage, and it felt different because I wasn't used to experiencing someone. Corey's a very intense mind already. Love him for it.
What does that mean?
You're very smart. And so for me, it was hard because he was on another level for a while. And we'll get back into the strands later and what we've kind of had to dial in and understand. But really, like you said, Corey, knowledge is power. So to be honest, I mean, we have family members that smoke medicinally. I've had many friends whose parents have experienced illness like cancer.
And all upsides, positive feedback from all of them.
Oh, of course. I mean,
which is
all the statistics are like, you know, medicinal marijuana. It's like 92% of people say that. I have like a couple different facts here, but it's like upwards of 92% of people say that medical marijuana has alleviated symptoms of their serious medical conditions, including chronic pain, arthritis, migraines, and cancer.
Isn't that something?
Now, here's the thing. You may disagree, but I believe now
cannabis as a potential cure for cancer. Just fancy that thought, you know.
Or it helps symptoms. So I'm like, I don't know if it's a cure.
Well, as a potential symptom curer.
Right. Well, I had to do my own research. And so a lot of it was, I'll be honest, I mean, we're dialing in a brand new marriage. A lot of it was a control thing. And I was like, this is something that I can't control. And it just felt lonely for a little bit, which that's just me being honest. And I just felt like we weren't on the same page. And again, that goes back to communication. But I had to do a little bit more research on my own. So I had to start just understanding. So I mean, literally, you also have to understand, I'm someone, and this is going to be TMI maybe, but I've never taken birth control. My parents don't believe in medication. That's not something that we ever were abusing or
like
using.
Western medication, I guess you'd say, right?
Right.
Not
like
any medication.
Well, meaning maybe an aspirin here and there, but we did not ever.
Pharma.
Yeah. My dad is a firm believer that big pharma is all programming. So we're pumping ourselves with like antidepressants.
It's a program.
And birth control.
One of many.
And it hit close to home for us because I even had a friend pass away from birth control. So I don't know. I just think that
That's heavy.
It's heavy.
That's heavy.
I had a friend who had a blood clot travel from her leg to her brain. I had talked to her the week before, and she was fine. And then, boom, a week later, she was dead.
Yeah, that's a serious thing.
It hit me close to home in my teenage years, and I was going, this is heavy stuff. This is not okay. So I never got into it. My parents didn't believe in birth control, meaning praise God, I never got pregnant. But it was just not something that we did. And I know that there are certain medications for certain illnesses that you have to have. You have to use Western medicine in certain illnesses. But I do believe that there are parts of that are just, what is the word I'm trying to say? It's a lot of different people behind the curtain trying to get you addicted to different medication.
Well,
and
I mean,
like reliant on it, and it can be a dangerous game.
I think there's wisdom in. I heard this when I was too young, maybe to understand the meaning of it until I got a little older. Was, you know, to know the truth of something in a way is kind of follow where the money comes from. And if there's a lot of money being made, like, and it's a business of sorts, just know what it is, and you might be able to shine a little bit more clearer light certain subjects, you know, that are per curious. If you don't know enough about it, nowadays just ask your friend Siri or whatever, Google, and you can satisfy your curiosity in a matter of seconds. So I think it's, like I said, in the very beginning, knowledge is power, and something that's seems to be a topic that's interesting. You know, what don't we know about that subject is what we're posing here today. Speaking of which, it is just about that time.
Almost that time.
We are going to be,
we're going to be looping in an expert, but we have a couple questions. So someone's asking.
Okay, great.
Should we do this at the end, or you want to do it now?
Yeah, well, let's do a question, and then we'll call in Dave. You know,
okay, someone's saying, so your husband uses it for medicinal or recreational?
Well, if you could say, what I will say is that I am so grateful to God and a family that has supported me to be able to say that I am dedicated 100% to being able to create and produce audiovisual aids for American folk music. And that's what my mentor's doctoral thesis was, and kind of my personal mission. So I am on target doing what I love the most. And if you could say that that is recreational or medicinal, I know that marijuana is something that helps me concentrate on things that a lot of people don't get to do, like composing music, which takes hours and hours and hours of concentration. So I would say recreationally medicinal.
Sure. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that pump themselves with Adderall, so we could go down that conversation. There's a really great documentary on that. I really recommend you guys watching that on Netflix, because I had a lot of family members that grew up on Adderall, and that's poison. It's literally it's like an amphetamine. It's like one little, in the science of it, a little bit different than meth, but you're basically pumping our children with methamphetamine.
Yeah, just do your research. And I'm down with something that Yahweh God makes himself, you know, so that's why I think it's interesting. How about it's time to call in Mr. Dave?
Should we call in Dave?
Yeah, let's call him up.
All right.
Call him up. Call him up.
We are going to loop in an expert friend of ours who is in the cannabis industry, because he helped actually really break down a lot of the science behind where it's going, where it's headed, where it's always been. And it was really helpful for me, to be honest.
Yes.
Talking with Dave was really helpful for me.
You guys are like-minded similarly.
I needed it broken down, and about how our brain receives, how body receives cannabinoids and all those things. You don't know enough, and that's what was like the struggle, I think, in the beginning. So we're gonna loop in Dave.
Let's do it.
Here we go.
Dave's real smart. Dave's a smart guy, and he's one of we're working together making songs too.
You guys are gonna get to see them. Hello.
Welcome to the future, man.
I like the future. It looks good.
Yeah, it looks like us, bruh.
There we go. There, we're trying to get that screen right. Okay.
All right, so
introduce yourself, Dave.
What do we know about Dave Hutchison as an expert and as a person?
Well, I am I like long walks on the beach. I'm a Cancer.
So pronounce your full name for us.
My name's Dave. My name's Dave Hutchison. I am a consultant for Green Go LLC. Is my company. I'm the former COO of Scientific Solutions. It's a equipment distribution company for the cannabis space, specializing in the manufacturing, processing of oils, essential oils, and isolates and whatnot that are provided for vape pens, and edible oils for all the different types of edibles, and isolates for supplements and such.
Dave, that's awesome. So as a kind of a consultant expert in the cannabis industry, it's a very rapidly growing industry. Could you kind of, the people that maybe are business minded but don't know anything about it as an industry, could you talk about, can you talk about it at that level too?
Absolutely. Just in the last year, there's been an explosion of growth, especially in California. We've made it recreationally legal here. And the amount of people that are now looking to jump into the space has just exploded. It's parabolic. So there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of greed running around, and there's a lot of money being spent too. Pretty interesting space to be in. It's definitely dynamic, and it's definitely morphing daily.
Right. We just finished talking a little bit. We just touched on the idea of big pharma and how I think a lot of it is like programming that a lot of us are so freaked out. And it was kind of like from the hippie days, which weed has shifted so much since those days. I think it's actually a lot more potent than it used to be. But we were kind of just talking about that kind of stuff. If you want to touch on that, I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, like it appears that there was a definite like media demonization of the plant for whatever reason. But, you know, now that things are coming out and there's truth on it, it's kind of shocking in a way. But yeah, man, maybe you could fill us in there.
Sure. Without going too in depth, there are some really talented Israeli scientists that you can look up on your own. Google machine works pretty good. That have done a lot of work showing the benefits medicinally for cannabis and its derivatives. Cannabis, the plant, is comprised of a variety of cannabinoids, and only one of which is psychoactive, and that's THC. So THC is the big problem in USA because it's a Schedule I drug. They've deemed that it has zero medicinal benefit, that it's not serving any of us, which many would argue is not the case. The cannabis that grew out of the ground 100 years ago was different than the cannabis that grows out of the ground now, primarily because of our science and how talented these cultivators are. They're making some really incredible things.
You show me some videos that are very impressive.
Right. So beyond that, what we've seen is that if we're going to use this as medicine, which is the ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to cure a variety of diseases or ailments.
And there are many.
Many do respond well to it. The issue is dosing, and the proper way of dosing means that you have to take it out of the plant form and concentrate it into its own distilled molecular portions, being THC, CBD, CBN, CBG. There are a variety of cannabinoids, all of which are in the cannabis plant. So these scientists and extractors these days are doing the work of isolating these individual molecules and putting them together in a way that the scientists and biologists and doctors can start doing their testing and start providing these to patients with different ailments, Crohn's, seizures, cancer.
Interesting.
These are just a few of the big headline topics. And the process is fascinating. It's the same process that we've done for years and years and years with rose oil, with lavender oil, with variety extracts. The equipment to do it is very expensive, and the process is very detailed. And the cannabis flower is very different from a rose and different from lavender, and there are its own technical difficulties with working with it. So these pioneers, as you can call them, were the ones that were starting out doing it in their garages, just doing it for money.
Sure.
And many people have figured out that they serve a bigger purpose in the grand scheme of things.
It's funny that
they do it properly and safely and with integrity, they can really spark something that could be life-changing for many, many people.
For sure. You know, it's funny that the stories that I'm hearing, and some of them you've passed along to me, of these pioneers that you speak about in cannabis are mirrored in the same way you hear about the pioneer stories in Silicon Valley. Like when they talk, you know, like with, you know, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, those type of stories of, like you said, people are experimenting with this plant and what we don't know about it yet in their garages. It's a really fascinating time, and it's a really and there's no limit to how much we can grow of it. So we have it in abundance, which is really interesting as well on the subject.
Yeah.
There are many applications for the plant itself. I mean, the fiber can be used for clothes, food.
Which is hemp.
Yes.
Right?
Hemp. Yeah. The fiber, well, both hemp and cannabis, they're just the male and female plant.
Right.
The male plant does not produce flowers, the buds as they were.
Right.
And it has less of a concentration of resins, and it doesn't contain a real high quantity of the THC. The female plant is the one that creates the really smelly, sticky bud flower that most people associate with marijuana. So the female plant is the one that actually has the THC, and that is the one that has been demonized, and both plants have been demonized because people don't understand that the same plant can have very different components to it. So hemp that we know of as hemp rope or hemp clothing, hemp anything, hemp seed oil, hemp, That's all male plant.
Gotcha.
However, both plants are very similar in their structure, and with our current scientific method, you can separate out all of the THC.
And there are many uses for it.
Yeah, many, many uses. And in fact, in the studies that I've seen and the people that I work with, we've seen that the body absorbs cannabinoids like CBD, the one that is a big namesake right now.
Cheers to that.
Fighting inflammation and cancer and all these different things. They're actually absorbed more readily to the body with a small amount of THC. THC is the fun one. THC is the one that gets everybody high. It's the psychoactive one.
This CBD oil is sponsored by Milk Makeup.
Yeah. So CBD in makeup. Well, for example, my mother-in-law was fighting cancer, and many people I know have fought cancer. And when we were doing our homework on what is the best method to provide them with some help, some support, some medicine, it was resounding that a small amount of THC is incredibly beneficial for the uptake of the CBD and the other cannabinoids that fight the bad cells.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all I can speak to. I'm not a doctor. But.
And the list goes on. Well, Dave, if there was one more thing you could wrap it up, and any bit of advice for people that maybe don't know much about it, like what would be your message? Someone that's interested in the field as an expert, what's your message from the cannabis industry to the world?
You know, I think that with the proper amount of research, with a little open-mindedness and understanding that the current method is not the only method, that a lot of good can be done for a lot of people. Many, many people are finding relief. Many people are finding hope again. And it would be fascinating to see where we can go when we actually allow the most brilliant of minds to dabble and experiment and really be free and have fun with what they're doing, to see where it leads to.
Right. I think this is a large conversation that we're obviously just peering a little bit into, starting to peel back the veil. We just appreciate you being an expert, helping us understand further. I love that Dave's mind.
Dave Hutchinson, everyone.
Yeah, Dave Hutchinson. He knows a lot of different things. I have his email in the description box. For all of you people on Instagram, you can go to my YouTube channel. And right now, his email is in the description box. So if you guys have any further questions, he is a wealth of knowledge on this topic and has definitely helped us understand more, understand strains and the different hybrids and all of those different things. Because like I said, it's been a learning curve.
Cannabis science, everyone. Dave Hutchinson, thank you so much. Our brother from another mother, thanks for tuning in.
Of a similar color. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
Talk to you soon, bud.
Bye.
Okay, cool. Woo. Let's end these. Okay. So, to kind of wrap up this conversation, obviously, you know, so we're inspired. Number one, like I said, the industry's shifting. I've been watching even the beauty industry shift. We went to Generation Beauty. Hold on. We went to Generation Beauty this year, and they had a brand called Cannabis.
Get it? Cannabis.
At the convention, there you go. And so that was just interesting to see CBD infused into makeup and beauty products. So no matter what, the industry's shifting right before our very eyes. Last night we just went to Milk Makeup's
Sponsored by
launch.
Milk Makeup.
No, it's not. This is not. That's why, like, you can't say that in joke. Okay, this is not sponsored. But we went to Milk's event last night, and they just released Kush mascara. So this has, let's see, it is wait, where's the little tagline thing?
It's very cool.
It's a fully vegan mascara.
Party was really fun.
Yeah, where's that little thing? Oh, here we go. So it's infused with cannabis oil. So, and then it has heart-shaped fibers. Anyway, puff brush. So we're watching makeup brands already really embrace this conversation, which is a crazy thing to watch because I honestly thought we were a lot farther away from that happening. I also wanted to mention I have a really bad wrist because I have developed almost like carpal tunnel in my wrist, and sometimes like the tendon from my pinky all the way down, you know, to my middle of my arm will go numb. And so a friend of ours started a company called Mend. So I'll show this to you guys. These are just like little samples. Mend. And these are topical ointments that you can put on. So they have a blend, a hybrid between THC and CBD, and then they have just the singular versions of the just THC and then just CBD. So he told me to rub it on my wrist, see if that's been helpful, and honest to God, it really has. Because it will be painful sometimes. I can't even sit a certain way because my wrist just really kills. Or if you have a headache, I hate to just pump myself with Tylenol, so I've been just taking a little bit of the ointment and then just dabbing it on my forehead. And so there's just a lot of different benefits that I've been just seeing. I don't smoke. That's not something that I partake in. Obviously, like we talked about. Oh yeah, this is the chapstick. They have a chapstick with
I love it.
Some of it. So really interesting. And again, pretty incredible to see an event like last night happen. So no matter what, the conversation's happening around us, and we just wanted to be honest and vulnerable and share, you know, in the beginning, it was really difficult. So I think just communicating with your partner as much as you can. I think, Corey, you can kind of share more about that. I think just the ability to now be able to talk about it openly, so it's not some secret and it's not this like control.
Well, yeah, I guess because it's all happening so fast, it was all very precarious on both ends.
Sure.
You know? So I wanted to be sensitive to where you were coming from, but at the same time, like I only have my own experience, and when I was able to find value in the right relationship, you know, pursuing the right relationship, that's what I would encourage. You don't abuse anything. Like,
right.
You know, be balanced and be prayerful and careful.
Yes.
And be grateful, and lead with vulnerability. And that's what I've learned from you, Lynette. And so I think that I would share that get to that quicker if it's something that you need to learn together, especially if it's a couple thing. Like, two heads are better than one. She's wired differently than me, and I'm wired differently than her. But as we both kind of came together on this subject, it was more just going, wow, okay, communication is the key, and knowledge is power, and balance in everything, and learning to listen.
Yes, learning
Really
to listen with the
listen.
intent of understanding,
Yes.
rather than coming with preconceived notions. Obviously, you're going to find anything to help kind of like pitch your argument. You can find anything, because I was doing that for a long time. I was going online, finding every possible negative thing I could about it.
You'll find it.
Exactly, you'll find it. And you'll find every benefit too. So that's why it's just about learning. At this point,
It's about learning.
We're married, right? We're creating a unit. And for a long time, we just were not communicating correctly. And I had to come from a place of understanding, hey, this is my partner. He thinks differently than me. I'm never going to get him to think exactly like me. So that's irrelevant and a waste of time for me to try and do. And so instead, coming with the intent of understanding, okay, let me just ask better questions.
Inspire
That's
one
your
another.
favorite. Yeah. That's your favorite. Ask better questions instead of coming from a place of
Like
control.
what's your mom's Instagram bio now?
Conspire to inspire.
She's so cute, Mama B. Shout out to Mama B.
Yeah. So, again, I've even learned that in my parents' marriage too. My mom's like, your dad does his own thing, I do my own thing. So coming together and figuring out how to coexist, understand one another, and inspire one another. And also, I think another video that would be very interesting, we don't have the time today, but I think we just want to keep opening up this conversation. I know it's a provocative one, but Christians in cannabis and how we profess Christ, what that means, I think is another topic for another video. We want to hear from you guys.
Yeah, we
So
want to
comment
open up
below.
a conversation. Consider us hosts
Yeah.
for conversations that maybe don't have hosts yet. You know, so we've been, like Lynn has said earlier, we've been very open, and that's something that we've joined together and as our unit, that we're artists, and we like to share and be open and honest. So this is a subject that we're inviting to go, you know, what are your thoughts on this? And we'd like to address them, you know?
Yes. And help other people that are, you know, finding their way. So that's what I know. It would have been helpful for me to see too, people talking and being honest and open and just sharing what it is. Because the truth is, you can't control your partner. You know, you're just learning, you're just doing life together. And the truth is, this is a brave thing. I just want to put that out there.
Put it out there.
This is a brave thing. What we know that we've struck chords in
This is
people
true.
in the past for the end, we know, we're very aware of what we're doing, you guys. We know exactly what's happening. It's very easy to create a protagonist and an antagonist. And that's just the way the story goes. That's how all things are approached, right? So I can already see comments coming through, people picking a side, right? That's not what this is about. We're
That's
really
not
just
what this
opening
is.
dialogue, sparking conversation. But we have had pretty thick skin. We've obviously done this before. We know what we're opening, a big can of worms.
Yeah.
So we're open to just having a conversation, talking with you guys, hearing all of your
See where it
feedback.
goes.
Yeah, see where it goes. So we just wanted to leave this with you guys. This is another, you know, maybe if you guys would like to see more conversations about this, comment below, let us know. And what do you think?
Well, I think that to close off the subject of marriage and marijuana, we hope that that helped you at least get in, tuning in. Lynn and I are very happy about producing the show that we are calling Beauty and the Beat. And you're going to be seeing a lot more of that with collaborations of a beauty expert and music expert coming together, sharing their marriage, sharing our experience, and also the products of our collaboration that we're really proud of and excited about. Messages that her and I are both deeply passionate about. And that there's nothing better than that. All married people, just try to make it the grand collaboration between you two. Like, don't fight about things that don't matter.
Take it from us.
Yeah,
that it's not about war, just trying to find where you do agree. Oh my gosh.
No.
We were at war for so long and it was such a waste of time. So thank you guys for journeying with us and being supportive and loving and giving us sharing your love and light with us when we needed it the most.
Our gifts are made of words. Remember that.
We're just here, y'all. We're just here, just trying to figure it out. So,
speaking of which, we got to get to the studio.
I know. We're going back to the studio, working on our
song.
second track. So stay tuned for Beauty and the Beat, you guys. It's going to be so much fun. We are super excited for this project. And thanks for tuning in.
Love.
And we will see you guys in the future.